أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Uh, Good afternoon to everybody here, our distinguished delegates, our keynote speaker, Madam Sabally, who I'm very proud to call my friend and wife, and I also call her my better brain, and she is not disappointed in her presentation. Mr. Sila, thank you. Since the MC did not introduce you, I'll offer an introduction just to remind your friend Buba Sananjai who you are. As a public health lecturer at the University of the Gambia and also a public health professional working for the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicines, the MRT unit here, who's actually studied in China, in the very city where coronavirus was discovered, when he was actually doing his master's there. So luckily he flew home safe and helped us to navigate the dangerous waves of the coronavirus. I'm proud to call him a friend and a mentee. SLA summer camps are always unique, and I sat at the back for a reason, because I don't want to micromanage or to even direct the camp, because I know the young people we have are smart enough, definitely smarter than me, creative enough, definitely more creative than me, and wherever there is a creative environment, I try to avoid too much control once the ground rules are set. And from the speeches that were delivered, Mohamed Sise, and of course Rahia and the keynote speaker, I think all that's left is discussions. Of course, we're going to have a guest here tomorrow who I am more than eager to listen to. I think is Africa's finest intellectual, Hasum Sise, director of NTA, here, my good friend. I'm looking forward to hearing him about this very deep theme. Since SG has asked me to share my thoughts, I will in a very few words. Of course, I have my own seminar that's coming in later in the evening. From here, I will rush to the office because that's what pays my salary. Then I'll come back again later to join you. But on the theme, just like Jay said here, this whole camp was organized by these young people, university students, and our own Latif Sabally, who is just from 3. Practically, I had no input from the theme, the fundraising, the everything practically, the choice of venue. I just saw this place today. I never came here. But it just shows you the creative energy that these young people have. In a time that's just perfect, AI, information economy, and like she said, structure of our population. We are a booming one. Sometimes, we tend to see the negative side of it, but there is the positive side of it too. And if you know who is Momodou Sabally, that's me. Positive mental attitude. That's me. At the highest office as Secretary General Minister of Presidential Affairs, I was positive. In prison, cell number 2, remand wing, I was the most positive soul that ever entered Mile 2 Central Prison. You can ask the people who were there when I was there. When I left prison in 2014, when they wanted to laugh, they'd say, Alma Sabally, okay, let's laugh like Sabally. And that's why if I say the youths are happy, I mean they're happy. It's a spiritual thing. It's beyond just psychology and economics. And I know I've not gotten to the theme yet. When the Spanish Prime Minister came here, and I'm glad we have a rep from the embassy, I was talking to the head of communications about this immigration problem. And Abad played a very significant role regarding these issues. In 2013, when Yahya Jammeh stopped the dialogue with the EU, I convinced him to reinstitute it, and I led the Gambian delegation. The foreign minister was there, but I was there as head of the delegation. And we are talking about these issues. 10 years later, these issues are even more difficult to handle now. But what I like about the Spanish approach to it is to see the golden kernel in this very dark crust of irregular migration. That there are the challenges, but there are opportunities there. And I think it was within that framework that this agreement is being signed, so we can have young Gambians legally and safely travel to Europe, contribute positively to the development of that economy, and bring back something that can also contribute positively to the development of our country. And I believe these win-win situations are possible and they must be harnessed. So that's my emphasis for starts, the positive mental attitude. We have challenges, but within those challenges are huge, huge opportunities. But the opportunities will not present themselves. Just like the Sarahules would do when they go to Angola and Sierra Leone. They don't just look at that dark cross. They put a shovel and dig for years. This may sound so simple and simplistic, and the two words are different, by the way. But that's my answer. How do we help young people? I'm taking my answer from one of the SLA motivation nights, and I'm glad you mentioned Mbili, Mohammed Mbai, Barhama Cham, you name them, the young people who actually put up this camp. Mohammed, my son, was still going to Marina at high school. And that was one of the most transformational seminars I ever attended in our house. And Mohammed was asked, how do we help young people? And he cited the example of Mbili because he was struggling with math, and we brought him Mbili to teach him. Mohammed is, by the way, going to New York University now for his master's. He said, how do you help young people? He said, talk to them. Now, did you hear that? Talk to them. It may sound very simple, but in this country, there is not much talking to each other there. We are talking about each other on Twitter, on Facebook. Now the Sarahulis and Kiankas discovered TikTok, and the whole world is in chaos. But we need to talk to each other. Of course, like he said, with humility, with compassion. Everybody has a story, and these stories are not always milk and honey stories. A young person, in fact, I plan to do a whole essay because I know the grade 12 results and grade 9 have come, and some people have had disappointments. And, you don't just judge those people like that. I mean, you failed your exam, no. Do you know whether that girl or that boy was having breakfast to go to school? Did he have lunch? Did he have the required textbooks? I went to high school, did literature, particularly I didn't have textbooks. Can you imagine doing literature without textbooks? So perhaps I have an unusually high IQ. I don't know. Maybe just God just blessed me. But people are dealing with issues. So let's talk to the young people and encourage them, but not just talk to them. Because sometimes we feel we know everything, we talk down to them. Let's bring them together. In environments like this, I think you actually like to call them safe spaces. We create safe spaces for them to talk to each other. This is my answer. Like I said, it may sound simplistic. We need to talk to each other. We need to encourage each other. We need to spread that good word. We're living in a very difficult world, post-COVID, post-coronavirus. And maybe you may say I'm praising my wife, but her organization, Teacher in the House, they had a training. I think it's sponsored by CRS, linking school feeding to reading. I mean, for me, I would take all the money from higher education and take it to that place. I'm not saying that's what I'll tell the president. No, I'm not your presidential advisor. But I think some of these creative things, linking school feeding for young kids to reading. Because me, like my first son, I wrote a whole essay for him even before he was able to read, a letter to my son on reading. If you can read and write in this generation properly, and don't take that for granted, you can own this world. Trust me. Why SLA? She is the reason. And that's a serious and correct answer. Now, back then, I think it was 2013, 2014, yeah. I had just left cabinet. I mean, I had some time on my hand. Before being appointed a minister, I had written almost 10 books. And it's mostly in the motivational genre. The first was Jangi Jolof, a memoir on the Gambia's first university program. And of course, that's connected to the institution. We were the first batch of the university here. First ever group of Gambians home trained. And I happened to be valedictorian. So a friend of mine, who is now a professor in New York, he was my classmate. He said, if you don't like write this story, somebody's going to write it for you. So I wrote that memoir. I think Hasum calls it the first ever autobiographical work published by a Gambian. It was after that Sadauda Skyrabat came and another tomb. So that book, Instant Success, The Way to Happiness, of course, a compilation of love poems called Love Notes, and other inspirational books. We used to discuss a lot. I mean, like, how do we explain these theories and principles to young people? Because I've read thousands of books, thousands of lectures, from Tony Robbins to Napoleon Hill to Robin Sharma, you name them, all these gurus. And I've read their books, I've listened to them, Vincent Norman Peale's The Power of Positive Thinking. I had read all of these books, synthesized them, put in some folklore, to be able to motivate young Gambians. But the books were not enough. So she said, you have to find a way of ramming this into the throats of young people. So it was during one of those chats that I put on Facebook, we are going to have a motivational dinner. And then MB Lee picked it up. MB Lee is now in the US. He's had, I think, a double master's degree now. He runs his own business. He said, I'll coordinate this. So a group of young people, mainly from the university, came together. They came to my home. 9 p.m., we started this talk. By 11, they did not want to go. By midnight, we had to dismiss it because, I mean, these are young people. We don't want to keep them too long. Just when they were leaving, literally at the exit gate around the kitchen, she asked me, are you going to let these young people to go like that? I said, what can I do? He said, set up something, train them through modules, and then graduate them. And that's how we came up with it. There were two options. Sabally Leadership Institute, SLI, and Sabally Leadership Academy, SLA. And she chose Academy. And of course, you know how many academies were born since that. So when we had the first cohort, we go through the 10 principles of that book, Instant Success. We wanted to graduate them. They still did not want to go. So that's why we came back to them and say, okay, you can stay, but you also have to organize something to pass the knowledge. So that's how they came up with the SLA Summer Camp, the original one, 2016. I think, no, 2015. Yeah, 2015. So they did that, and it was such a phenomenal success. Then we repeated another one, 2017. Then we had this youth re-emergence seminar. What's the concept the Americans taught you guys? Reverse counseling? Re-emergence counseling, such a fantastic tool in terms of helping people who are going through. We did that at Kotu. We partnered with Yewande Austin, is a cultural ambassador for the United States, who runs Change Rocks Foundation. She partners us with some girls in Virginia. So we had a girls camp, girls in Virginia, girls in the Gambia, through video conferencing. That's how SLA emerged. And then I think the choir made us very famous, because they became a regular outfit. And she manages the choir, by the way. I have nothing to do with Basa is here. Basa, we salute you. Salifu is in Morocco. They run this choir, and the choir now practically every major concert. So that's SLA in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you. I think he's done a great job of answering. I just wanted to say, we also recognize that some of us learn better in informal settings. While, of course, education cannot be replaced, the addition of these informal, like he said, we were organizing this motivational night at our home, a very relaxed environment. Of course, food will always attract young people, but the fact that it was informal, we really tapped into our informal knowledge, our heritage. Like he said, we invited people like Jali Alajimbai, may his soul rest in peace. And I think some of the lessons that I've learned from his lectures, Jali Alajimbai's lectures, have been transformative. I remember quoting him and his anecdote on our historical peace-building techniques at a speech where we were invited to, it was, I think, the UTG Debate Association. And it was such a strong statement that Mr. Hatem Sise, then the curator of the National Museum, actually used it as part of a paper he had to present in Ghana. Exactly, lost in translation. So we have knowledge. We just need to tap into it. I think the whole idea of Sabally Leadership Academy is to create that environment like this one today, where we solve our own problems. You guys have the answers. It's just about how to dig into those answers. Yeah. Thanks.
It might be here, because SLA is very informal. Most of the time I just sit back and watch, and she's very observant. We're able to create success stories where young people who, I don't want to use the word dropout, but they didn't do well at secondary school, trying to find their way. One was a taxi driver. We asked him to read a passage. She told me this young man has reading skills. I later employed him as a reporter at Observer when I was managing director of Observer Company. I saw he had filming skills. I later employed him as a reporter at GRTS doing entertainment reporting. He was later going to the COP, the UN environmental thing, to report for the Gambia. He became an anchor and he's now working for the BBC in Scotland. We have another young one who was fixing my iPhones. Then I was fired, so I was going to court with Jame, you know how it works. So he would fix the phone. Whenever I asked him, what's the fee? He said, no, don't worry. This guy will bounce back and he will help me, So then when I bounced back, literally, I brought him in. he was doing a better job in our IT department in Observer than somebody who had a master's. So I ended up appointing him as manager, gave him another job at JRTS. He was invited to IT Science Academy in China to be trained. Now he's in Europe at one of the top institutes, ready to be one of the biggest IT guys. So there are several stories like that. My driver once took a picture. She thought she has, said, this guy has a steady hand. He now works for the state broadcaster. Practically no formal education as a cameraman. So what she's saying, and this is our emphasis, that our young people are not dumb. Even those who may not be doing well in the formal school system have certain skills, but we have to create that environment to spot the talent and to nurture it and to help them, to help the communities and themselves. Yeah.
Thank you very much. This marks we will have the opportunity for more engagements, of course, but this will mark the end of the panel discussion on the theme Roots and Rhythms, Embracing Our Heritage and Inspiring Our Future. Thank you very much.
In this, our new Gambia, where everybody wants to be a leader, and in that case, we have a problem. Who will be the follower? If you want to lead, you want to lead people, right? You want to lead a group, you want to lead a village, you want to lead a community, you want to lead a country. But if you have a country where everybody wants to be a leader, who are we leading? The poet in the morning dropped a line that I really like. Mobe lafta mansayala, iko munakata ni mobe lafta mansayala munakage. Sententolia, mobe mansayala. And I think there's a lot of truth in it. Everybody wants to be a leader in a community of 2 million people. I used to teach the Nigerians back then. I was doing my central banking training. When I teach them, they say, your country is even less than a local government area in Lagos, which is true. And I know a journalist from West Africa Magazine who once told me, he said, there's too much politics in that big country. That's sarcastic, right? So I think it's important we understand this concept. And sometimes, to be honest, I've had misgivings of why we actually call this Sabally Leadership Academy. Maybe that's part of the problem. Every Sarakuli thinks he can be a leader. Every Kianka thinks he can be an alcalde. But how many villages do we have? So we're dealing with a problem. But leadership is important. It is necessary. And for me, the concept of leadership in SLA is not necessarily going to lead an organization, an entity. The whole concept actually, for me, came from the prophetic tradition. The Ustazis are here. I think there's a hadith to the effect, Kullukum ra'in. Each of you is a leader. But for me, that starts from leading yourself, leading your family, leading your brothers and sisters. But you have to lead yourself first to be able to lead other people. But I see situations where somebody really cannot even lead himself to a proper secondary education and thinks he can be president of the Republic of the Gambia. Really? And I'm not basing it on education only. You've not even managed a business. You think you can lead a country? So for me, I want to clarify that bit of it also. I remember I did a lecture at the American Corner on leadership, and I said, like, Abdullah Wad, at the time, I think he was the president of Senegal, he's a leader, but Yusuf Dur is also a leader. You don't have to be a politician to be a leader. Our imams are leaders. Our pastors are leaders. And before Barrow came, people were just content with those leaders. But come New Gambia, everybody thinks they can be president overnight. I don't know, really, I'm really concerned about this. And I'll get to that bit, whoever is the moderator, I don't want to speak more than 15 minutes. And it already looks like I'm biting more than I can chew within that time. But I don't want to make this long. I just want 15 minutes talk and then 10 minutes question, because the Quora man is waiting. So, On leadership, basically, I'll just give you three principles. And after that, I'll give you a little bit of a background, my little experience in leadership. And then I will make a small talk against the concept of leadership. So I'm not confusing you already. How many of you are confused? One. Only one person. I think she's the only one who understands. Those who claim to be confused, they understand. Those who think they are not confused, they don't understand. I may be wrong, by the way. How many of you don't agree with me? If you are afraid to show your opinion, then you cannot be a leader. You are failed. So on leadership, I think if you want to be a leader, you must have a vision. There's an institution, an organization, a village, a company, a school, a whatever. You must have a vision of where you want to take that entity to be led. You must believe in something. Jawara had a Singaporean dream. Jame had what? What was Jame's dream? He was bigger than that. He said economic superpower. Don't you remember that? You know. But leaders usually have dreams. You have a destination you want to take that entity to. Maybe you want to improve living standards. Maybe you want to transform healthcare. Maybe you want to transform education. You want a rich, healthy, well-informed population. You want something. You have to have a vision. And if you have that vision, you must believe in that vision and you must have the faith. And that's different from FATE. You know what FATE means? Faith, Yaraba, Nadinaba, Better Moscon. I'm talking of FAITH. Faith. To believe that that vision can be realized. It's an active faith. Not the ghetto youth faith where you go and say one day things must get better, you are not taking any steps. No. You believe things will work, but you get out and work. Some biblical quotes that say the birds of the air, they don't sow and reap, but God takes care of them like a shepherd tends his sheep. God feeds all the birds, but God comes down and goes to the trees and searches their nest. No. They fly out in the morning to go and see which lazy farmer is leaving his farm untended so they can chop and go and sleep. But the faith I'm talking is an active faith, and leadership is difficult. You have problems. I saw President Jamai Fai a day or two back in Bur. I pitied him. I wish he knew what he was going into. Do you get me? There are situations that will break your heart as a leader. There are situations where you, as a leader, people will come and challenge you. They'll betray you. Who killed Thomas Sankara? That's fact. It's not as easy as you may think. The challenges can be even more compounded than that. You have to have that faith that things would work. That's what Napoleon had. French leader. That's what all the great leaders had. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Moses leading the flock. The Exodus. They had faith. You must believe in something. Otherwise it will not work. It's a rough road. The road will never be smooth. God will assures us we will arrive, but He's not assuring anybody of a smooth ride. But He Himself says He loves those who have faith. Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. Yukhrijuhum min adh-dhulumati ila an-nur. Allah loves those who have faith. He takes them out of darkness into the light. And that faith, the leader, you have to work to attain that dream. As a leader, you must be persistent because there will be challenges. I'm sure when President Barrow became president, he did not know there was coronavirus during his time. But did he give up when coronavirus came? No. Usman Sonko, when he was promising Senegal, he didn't know that Ukraine will come. But has he given up because Ukraine is here? We just went back to our people, money. Into the Jeep, Ukraine, Reality check 101. Don't tell him I said that. Very powerful man. It's easier said and done, and that's why you must be persistent as a leader. You must keep pushing because you'll have your shortcomings, you'll have your obstacles. But if you have faith, if you are persistent, you can even transform those obstacles into stepping stones. You know how SLA came into being?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Student leader of the university. I didn't plan it, but for some reason, people had faith and confidence in me and said, "Lead us." So that's why sometimes, even if you are not excited about leading, you are going to prepare yourself because things can happen. Jomai Faye never wanted to be president of Senegal, did he? He was just a follower of Sonko. And mark that word follower. And then circumstances change what happened. But he was on the Sonko, he was learning on it. President Barrow never wanted to contest for president. He was just an executive member of UDP. What happened? Dabo Anko went to jail. He was forced by circumstances. So that's why my advice is train yourselves, prepare yourself, listen to leadership lectures, study leaders. I read a lot, but, well, I don't even read a lot now. But growing up, I read a lot. But most of the books I read were biographies. Great people, Albert Einstein, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington, you name them. How great and successful people and leaders became great. You learn from their stories because you don't know what's going to happen. So I became president of the Students' Union. At that time, if you call me a politician, I used to be angry, to be honest. I never wanted to be a politician. We graduated, I went to Central Bank, became budget director. Next time, what happens? I was appointed Secretary General Minister of Presidential Affairs out of the blue. I didn't expect it. But at least I had some background at the university students. I was a member of the Gambia Students' Union back then. That's the umbrella body. I don't think it exists now. It exists. Okay, you survived. What's the name of the splinter group that Jame created to kill them? There was another group on the Gamsu. I forgot. NAPSA. So I became Secretary General Minister of Presidential Affairs and, smooth trajectory, lot of talk. I mean, at that time, the dream was big. People are saying he's going to be this, he's going to be that. I don't want to mention those words. And then I was fired and taken to jail for doing nothing. Kicked out of office, blah, blah, blah. I was at home at the time, going to court with Jame up and down. That's a big obstacle, right? Well, it was that obstacle that I used as a stepping stone to go and teach young people how to become successful. That's how SLA came. An obstacle that I turned into a stepping stone to lead, to teach young people leadership. And it's taking me all over the world. I've been to Rwanda, been to Ilorin, Nigeria, Egypt, World Youth Forum, teaching young Africans on leadership. Sierra Leone, with Dr. Cisse and others. Gone around the world. What I'm telling you, this concept of persistence, I could have given up on my life at the time. It happened to a lot of people during Jame's era. Fired, arrested, end of story. Go out, become a refugee somewhere. If you are not lucky, things go bad, family breaks down, you lose your shine, you lose your grit, and it happens. But by the grace of Allah, we trudged on. After that, what happened? They said I was banned for life. I will never live in this government. And where am I today? My office is a state house. But you have to have faith. You have to be persistent. And for me also, I spoke of vision, faith, and persistence. You have to have the desire and the passion to serve. Leadership is about service. The titles come and they are good. The big cars come and they are good. The first class air tickets come and they are good. I've done it. Flown first class around the world. Went to meet Sergei Lavrov, one of the most powerful diplomats in the whole world, Russian Foreign Minister, General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of Egypt. Met kings and queens, presidents. And that's nice, but what's important is to serve your people, to serve your community, to serve your country, to serve whichever institution you want to lead. That should be the purpose of leadership. But when you have people eyeing for these things just because of those titles and the privileges, that's why we have problems of leadership. But ordinarily, it should not be a crime to desire, to want to serve, to want to lead, but within the concept of service to the people, to the communities, to the country, to the organizations, because we need that. I think God himself created us with that picture that there would be a need for some people to lead us. So it's not a crime. But don't do it for selfish reasons. It will not work. It will break your heart. It might break your family. It might break your hereafter if you believe in that. Generation, I don't even know what you guys believe in, but we believe that there is heaven and hell. And if you lead people and you do it the wrong way, exploit them, torture them, and God is waiting for you. And God has a very big stick. One Sarahuli man told me. I think he died and came back. But there are consequences for these decisions that you take. I told you when Jamai was coming, maybe it was within a political party following Sonko, and then look at what's happening around the world. Really tough issues. Everything that they were blaming Maki for now, they have to deal with it. So leadership can come with constraints, obstacles, but my idea is to have that vision, to have that faith, and to be persistent. To deal with people is not easy. Sometimes those closest to you would be the ones undermining you. Trying to overthrow you. You have to deal with it. And when you are a leader, you have a lot of power. If you don't have that patience and that compassion, you can do a lot of damage. That's why I've known leaders in Africa who've killed and maimed people, sent people into exile. But I think if you are a leader, you should be compassionate also, because the people you are leading, they have problems, they have heartbreaks, they have heartaches. So you need to be compassionate. To kind of try to have a connection, a feel of what your people, what are their challenges, what are their constraints, what are their aspirations, so that you can lead them with compassion. In the All African Students Union Congress in Rwanda, I think I was there with Professor Lumumba and co. He says, when he talks about leadership, just like in the Christian tradition, you talk of Moses and Jesus, and in Africa, our Moses is, our Jesus is, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Nelson Mandelas, the Patrice Lumumbas, Leopold Sedar Senghor, Sadauda Kairaba Jawara. Generation of leaders that fought and took us out of colonialism to become independent states. Where the angels no, but they did their bit and they did well. I call them the Moses generation. I once remember a seminar I attended, and Khalifa Saleh was warning us at the time because, the West Nkrumah was a dictator. This guy was a dictator. What was George Washington? He was a soldier, the first president of America, but they would not call him a dictator. These were great people. Nkrumah was great. He was a great leader. Senghor was great. Mandela was a great leader. Martin Luther King Jr. was a great leader. He had a dream, and the dream came true. In the era of Barack Obama, he's a great leader. So you have role models, you have models to aspire to learn from, to become even bigger and greater than this Moses generation. And your generation is the generation I call the Jesus generation. Because the challenges, the heartbreaks, the global conundrums, coronavirus. Our friend SG is trying to convince us that Mpox is coming to Gambia. We refuse. We are not granting Mpox a visa. Dr. Samari has already declared Mpox is not there. But you're going to deal with more complex problems, so you're going to have to perform miracles. Breaking bread in the labs of ICT, artificial intelligence. Competent, wise, smart, patient, compassionate people who can support him. But if you all want to be presidents overnight, this country is not going to work. It's not going to move anywhere. So you want to be a good leader? Start off with being a good follower. That's where it starts. You learn from that leader. You can even be smarter than the leader. You can be more courageous than the leader. But he is the leader for now. That's something that he knows that he will know. I believe following any leader is a blessing because you will learn a lot. You will learn from his good side and you will learn to avoid the mistakes that leader wants. But really, I know this is no exaggeration. Young people, they don't have a proper secondary school education. They've never even had a steady girlfriend for 3 years. They want to be president of this country? It's a joke. I'm serious. It's not an exaggeration. I'm serious. You cannot manage a relationship with one person, but you want to manage a relationship with 2 million people? It's not going to work. The floor is open for questions. I'm done. Thank you for your understanding and your patience.
So when he speaks for a long time, he needs to take. So that's a good one. You will move straight to question and answer. Let us keep our questions first. Let's do question.
Okay. Thank you very much for the view. Um, you answered some of the questions where in Gambia everyone wants to be a leader, but then the problem is with the following. Okay, what would be your advice to young people where you observe and understand that every Gambian wants to lead without being the candidate for to be able to understand the leadership roles and how can young people try to follow from those that they look up to in order to
Now I want to stand so I can see everybody and everybody can see me. Okay, so I'm just going to advise you from my own experience. Like I said, I've never had any grand dream of being a leader in my life. I was prepared for high school. I became president of the student union not because I wanted it. I mean, it was a new university, first 2, 3 days, so many problems. They thought I was outspoken. I can lead them. They encouraged me. I went. At the time, I said, I hated it when you call me politician. I'm serious. But then later on, after I graduated, I felt that, okay, maybe, just maybe, I may be a leader. So I started reading books about leadership, listening to lectures about leadership. At any rate, preparing myself. I still had no grand dream of being a minister or talk less of anything. But I said, I will always try to learn from people, from leaders, read about the biographies of great people, including prophets, including CEOs. I mean, just to prepare myself in case my service is needed to lead. Like I said, when I was appointed Secretary General of Presidential Affairs, that was not my dream. I was a rugged economist at the central bank. My role models were Professor Ken Rogoff, Joe Stiglitz, William Easterly. These were professors in Harvard, LSE, top-notch economists. That's what I wanted to be. I became budget director. I was forced into this position of politics and working with a leader, having to be a politician. But when I was appointed, I was happy that I had an opportunity to work with somebody. And whether it was my director at the central bank, my peers at finance, or ultimately
to confuse young people. He's saying those days when the Gambia's passport was like gold. How many Gambians were Gambians at that time? Less than 500,000. You have 2 million people, you have almost 4 times a bigger problem than managing 500,000 people, managing 2 million people, which is more difficult. So they try to be nostalgic and try to show you as Gambia was heaven in that era, a heaven without a university, a heaven without proper high schools. I think we just need to be a little bit more objective. Give credit where it's due, criticize where it's due, constructively though. The point is, the past is the past. Let's learn from it. Let's not try to over-romanticize the past. And I'm part of the past because you are the next generation. Hope you remember when we started coming to this stuff. But look, we need to build this country. Things need to be better. I think Gerald did well. I think Janet did well. We took us to the next level. I think God has taken us to a level just bigger than what Janet did. So what we want, what we hope for, is that we would cultivate young leaders in your generation that would do bigger than power. But not for me to come and meet you at that time and tell you about that. No. We have Malaikas and all this.
Wait. Well, let us keep it so that it's no, it is coming.
Good evening, everyone. I am Malafina Jim, Science School at the University of Gambia.
People love this mic. I think your voice is nice,
Yeah, nice.
Let me use my voice.
Yeah.
Yes, I think this is the second time we're meeting, and I would like to thank you first, and then give a compliment for this wonderful remark you have made. I just have 2 questions to ask. The first one, if my memo will start me very well, in the morning you sit. If you can breathe and wide, you can control the world. I came to understand in the Gambia, we have a lot of youth that are aspiring to be writers. But one of the problems that we face as youth is to wait. And then I want to put this across. What are some of the strategies that you have been building from the grassroots to where you are right now, the habit you have cultivated to read different types of books from different diversifications, cultures, religious backgrounds, and like that. Secondly, we also understood that being a leader and being a follower involves a lot of critics. And then being someone who have been following you in Facebook, we have seen how sometimes your critics have been attacking you, and yet you still maintain that composure and still, maintaining the momentum. How or what do you still have for really those who are serving as followers at the moment and aspiring to be leaders in the future to maintain the same momentum that you have in UK? Because we understand that not everybody can be a leader that can handle certain critics. And also, I want also to use also the table. How should followers also should paint their critics towards their leaders? Because not all critics are genuine. And I believe as Gambians, we should criticize our leaders based on certain things. What are some of the critics that we expect the youth should be criticizing their leaders for so long Gambia is concerned? Thank
you. You know, my I didn't ask him to stand up. Ika has acknowledged you. You were not here when he said you are the greatest secretary general. So please clap for him. He was not here when we are recognizing him. So let's recognize him now. So I was just going to say my lawyer, because he's a lawyer, I wanna excite him. My lawyer is Antu Mange. He was defending me against Jan's crimes charges against me. When a prosecutor asks multiple questions like this, he calls it an omnibus question. And he objects to it. So I think he asked me an omnibus question. So what should I do? The judge has rules. As the court please. On reading. Look, I'm not the kind of person who pretends about certain things. Like, I don't think I'm the greatest leader in this country. Maybe I'm not even, I don't see myself being much above average in terms of how much I read. Because if you know literate cultures, the rate at which young people read in those cultures, man, even my daughter Hadia, the books Hadia is reading, at this age, I never read those books. Like a book as thick as this, Harry Potter, I've never done it. But gradually I realized that it is important. You know, people have different inclinations. Maybe you are better at reading, somebody else is better at listening to audiobooks or watching movies. But I think reading is a quality that everybody should develop. Whether it comes to you naturally, and mostly it's girls who like reading, boys are doing something, please read, I swear, read. The first verse of the Quran is Iqra, read. It's not by accident. The whole Christian culture is on the Logos. What's that? The word. You need to read. Even, I mean, it doesn't have to be biographies, whatever, just read. I did an essay, I think it was 2004, letter to my son, on reading. That's my first son, Mohammed. And I published the essay in one of my books. I mean, and I think Mohammed really literally took that. He's doing graduate studies now. I mean, when he sent me his thesis at undergrad, the material was so thick I could not read it. And I was happy that I was able to encourage my son to be a reader. It's never too late. What I did, I think it was even after my first degree, was to get me into biography. Albert Einstein, the biography of Steve Jobs. People that I admire, Henry Kissinger. I did Benjamin Franklin, the founding father of America, Thomas Jefferson, and you know, so I just kept reading the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And incidentally, we are in the Gamo era. Please go get a biography of the Prophet, and it's much easier for you now. Back then, you had to go to a physical library, otherwise you don't have access to a book. Now you can go online and download these books. You have e-books. Read, read, read. That is my advice. I used to say this. Ali Fasal, one of the most solid intellectuals in this country. He doesn't even have a PhD. But what Khalifa reads. So you want to be a leader, you have to read. I think that I cannot emphasize that, you know, regardless of your field. If you find it difficult to, if reading does not come to you naturally, look for a subject that interests you and read in that field. But wallahi, my advice to any young person, read. You want to be a writer, a good writer, be a good reader first. I see people claiming to be poets, wallahi they are not poets. Not all of them, some of them. But you cannot tell me you are a poet, you've never read even Shakespeare, one point from Shakespeare. You're not serious, man. Go and read how great poets write. I'm not saying you should copy them, but you have a great good idea of what a good poem is. It is important. Reading, I can remember that. So on leadership and followership and these criticisms, So there's this saying that you guys came up, not too young to lead, after 2017. You know, when Jamie was here, nobody wanted to lead. I'm not talking about New York, but Jamie, when everybody believed you got it, not too young to lead. No, lead. That was his saying. They know it. The leadership movement, not too young to lead, but the young people should lead. We should not be the leaders of tomorrow, we should be leaders of today. What do you know? So for me, that slogan should have not too young to read, R-A-E-D, read first before you can lead. Great leaders are always great readers. It is a truism. You can Google it now, you will see people have done speeches about that. So you need to read and grow up and follow leaders. So you're talking of my patience and how I allow people to insult me on my Facebook. Yeah. Sometimes I just ignore them, sometimes I just laugh. Sometimes when they ignore me and make a grammatical error, I go after the error, they please correct the error. But it did not come overnight. And that's why I say people should be good followers first. I was under Jame, I worked with him, I studied him. When I was in UDP, I was under Down, I studied him. And I found out he was very patient, very patient and very accommodating. You know that was a person. Now I'm working with President Barrow, I see the amount of insults attached on him. You just let them. It doesn't even affect his personal comportment. So as a follower, I have learned some skills from somebody, and that's why it's important to be a follower first. Because as a young person, usually, you can be very reactive. So you don't want to go to a position where you're leading people and you want to react to everything, and it can be dangerous, because if you get to certain levels of leadership, you have certain powers, and you want to react to everything. Honestly, I believe that's what would be done. He overreacted to certain situations and certain individuals, and some people lost their lives. But at what age did Yami become a leader? I believe he was too young. So we need to be followers first and learn from the people we are following. Again, regarding that whole thing. So I've come to a level where people insulting me, attacking me, it doesn't affect me. I'm not bothered. So long as my conscience is clear. Sometimes I go to Facebook, I write things, I know the whole country will be angry with me, but I will say it. I have two principles. I'm not an angel, but I want to break the law of God and the law of the country. So long as those laws are not broken, I will say what I want to say. And that's the whole concept of can, me, and kind of so. I say what I want to say. So the other part, followers and leaders. And I think this is why sometimes we can't follow people. Leaders are not angels, they are human beings. And no human beings are perfect. Here they'll say, okay, I cannot follow Khalifa Salah because Khalifa today sold Gesna, Khalifa Lee, Khalifa is not perfect. I cannot follow Adam Barrow because lately Adam Barrow is not perfect, he's going to make mistakes. But man, don't say again, especially young Gambians, you don't want to follow anybody among these political leaders. They are all not good enough. Across the border, you are following people with bigger and deeper flaws. You know, flaw, I mean deeper imperfections. Yes. But you think those people are angels because they are far away from you. What's the problem? They're human beings. Even our imam, sometimes I see somebody come and attack an imam. Say, the imam is not an angel, he makes mistakes. But that doesn't mean your president makes one mistake, you should condemn him and go and set up your own political party. You weaken his party and your for. If the president was going at 100 meters per hour, because I disagree with one or two things about president, I go, maybe the president will slow to about 90 meters per hour, right? I go set up my own political party. I'm not satisfied with him at 100 meters per hour. Me, I cannot even do 10 meters per hour. How does the country move forward? I mean, I wish I could go into further detail in this subject, but we don't have time. And because of the position I occupy, I need to be politically correct a little bit. But those leaders who are clapping for outside, they are not better than the ones we have here. I can tell you that, okay?
Okay, yeah. No, use your voice. Yeah, here.
All right. Good evening, sir, and thank you so much for giving us your time coming here. It's not easy based on who you are. I've been following you for more than maybe 15 years.
That's a lot.
Half of my life.
I'm not that old.
And out of these 15 years, I have come in contact maybe many times because I'm not into politics, but I work with politicians. And this is where people don't understand who I am. The reason is because I do a lot of contract work. I develop a lot of stuff in this country, but it's coded. I call it coded. I'm into fintech, and this is why I don't show face, and I do it at the back. So we do a lot. So I'm following you, and I love you because you are very straightforward. I'm not speaking this because of you, you're here, and people that knows me knows very well that he's a crazy guy. They don't know why am I following these controversial people. Yes. They say, okay, maybe because you are a computer scientist and you are a manipulator, and that's why you think that. So what happened is that I studied you. It's like you are a program now to me because I've studied you very well. And the reason why I came to Leadership Academy, Sabally Leadership Academy, is because, not because it's for adults. No, I don't think it's for adults. I think it should be for 3 years old. The people who can change their mindset when we can. Because when they get up to this age, it's difficult to convince because they have been, their mind is diluted with something like politics or social activities. So for me, I don't see you as a politician. I see you as somebody who is very straightforward, and that is why you hit it to the point every time, and you confuse a lot of people with it. And this is very good, because that's your key tactics. So my question is, sorry, first of all, to compliment you for everything that you have done.
As a guest.
No.
Yeah. So how
I don't have water for you.
do you want to advance SLA? Number one. Maybe it's not from you. Maybe it should be from the management or administration. But I don't know what is the vision. But I want to know the vision. And what I know, why I came here, is because of the educational value that it gives. I'm an educator. I have a school, and I teach people leadership. All right, sir. How can we transform the little 3-year-old to think just like Sabally? Not the Sabally politician, but Sabally of the social, cultural, straightforward guy. And then we transform it into a school. It has to be a school that teaches or brings out the best leaders. Because for me, as long as I'm concerned, you are one of the best young leaders in the country because you came from the second generation, the second republic, and you are still in the third republic, if there is a third republic yet. Maybe it's still coming, and you are still going. How is this possible? How have you been doing it? And how can we impute this thing that you have, this strong perspective of not giving up no matter what happens? How can we instill it in young people so that we can be able to carry them along, just like you? And tomorrow we can be proud of them just like we are proud of you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was quite loaded. Thank you for the compliments. Essentially, like I said, just like this slogan, views are happy. I don't have any big plan to make it popular. I just said to get popular. So there's no grand dream. Some people think it's political. It's that no. And a lot of things I do by inspiration. And like I told you, there was a time I thought I was going to be an economist, one of the finest in the world. That was my path. Later I found out God wanted me to do something else. I have to get into politics. And I think that's the best thing I can do for this country right now. Of course, in my own way, I'm a bit multifaceted because sometimes some people think I read the Quran, which I'm not. But I love my Quran. Sometimes they think I'm a Bible student, but I love my Bible too. Sometimes I'm in the communities and stuff. But when it comes to this, like Jay said in the morning, I read in books, trying to inspire people to be able to achieve their potential. Because I believe every single one of you is gifted, talented, and you could be as big as any great person in the world. But in the West, they had a lot of motivational issues. It's a whole book, it's a whole industry in this. It's $1 billion industry or even more. What I'm doing for you here, if I'm doing it in America, they'll pay me thousands of dollars, literally. And those doing it there, they don't know it better than me. They don't know the stuff better than me, and they don't speak this language better than me. But I found that this country was missing that. When I published Instant Success, it was 2006, I was in the US doing my master's. I had an interview on the BBC. A Gambian, this is very funny. A Gambian heard that interview. He called me, he said, "Sabally, when I heard your interview, I cried." I said, "Why?" He He said, in the country I studied, that country is one of the greatest countries in the world. He said that we sit down in their classes, we beat them in the exam, we come back home, our country is not moving, those their countries are flying. He said, I believe this kind of philosophy, this kind of is what is missing in our education. That's what he told me. So I know that our educational curriculum does not cover this kind of soft skills that prepare people to be the greatest scientists, to be the greatest politicians, to be the greatest whatever. So I decided to do it on my own, and I am happy now that there are many leadership academies, they all copied it from this. Even though you don't want to give credit, it's okay. All I wanted is to bring into the country something that will benefit the people. It's not my main career. I could have made it a career. But what I want is to spread the word, and like, when we started SLA, it was just a motivational night thing. The participants like you are the ones who took it to the next level, with the summer camps. So like you said, the question is not for me, it's for everybody. How do we move this to the next level so that we have more and more people benefit from this kind of information, philosophy, material quality? Because you need this to fully unearth your potential. You can call me a mathematician, I have a degree in mathematics. You can call me an economist, I have a degree and a 10-year solid career as an economist. You can call me an author because I am an author. You can call me a politician because I am a politician. You can call me an imam because I've led prayers in mosques. But by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's because early on I found out that I could be many things and I could be successful in many things. But I read books, I listened to lectures, I listened to sermons. So that is what I want, because I believe there are people here who are more gifted than me, smarter than me, and they could be greater than me, but they will never ever reach their potential if they don't have access to this kind of information and training. So for me, it's the intention. I am doing what I am doing because ironically, that Gambian who was crying, telling me this is what we need, became an obstacle in one of our programs. Deliberately said, no, it's not going to happen. I was shocked. Because it easy to feel it. But if you have a vision, you have faith, you are persistent, those stepping stones, those obstacles, you turn into stepping stones. To climb those mountains, reach the promised land. It can't always be done, especially, for me, if I am moving at 10 kilometers per hour, and I'm relaxed, and I know I'm getting to Gwindu, if somebody tells somebody cannot get to where I will increase that 10 to 100.
After we move.
No, let me use.
Okay, yeah, use it.
Yeah.
Your water. Follow.
Okay. Mr. Sabally.
Last question.
No, it's not the last one, huh?
Yeah, Mr. Sabally. For me, my question is.
Keep it short.
Yeah. My question is kind of really. I don't know how you may see complicated or easy or whatever. But then it's like the question is about generally like our educational system, like from nursery to university. Like in Gambia here, all of us used to hear it. Like our educational system is poor. It need to be changed. Everybody, most of us complaining. Like you as the let me say as a leader right now, or youth leaders, what do you think about those thinkings or those criticisms happening all over everywhere? Like if you are to change, the educational system, what will you bring on, for the future leaders of the youths?
Anyway, the educational system is what it is. It has been evolving from the Jawara era to the Jame era to the Garo era. And I know a lot of the reforms that are happening in education are not home-driven. These are coming from policies from the World Bank and other multilateral bodies who finance or partly support our educational. Ika, you cannot be a moderator and interrupt me. I'm going to stop you. Ika, nobody interrupts Momodou when he's speaking, especially if you are a moderator. Thank you. Pay attention. You are not here to joke. So, these are policy issues handled by government and ministries. I was part of a government, I'm part of a government, we are all together trying to find things. What I found missing is this kind of thing, I'm doing it on my own. And I know I've had impact. Wallahi, I know I've had impact. I think one of my children's curriculum, there's leadership development. I know a Gambian teacher in New York who I spoke to also. Now they get into a level where they're trying to, not yet fully integrate, trying to bring some of this stuff into the school systems. But what I know, and I get back to my statement, if you can read and write, you can control the world. You can read, you can write, you have the internet, you have YouTube, whatever skill you can learn for yourself. And if there is any meaning and any importance to what I'm talking about is leadership, is to lead yourself. There is a skill you want to learn, it's not in the curriculum, go teach yourself. Find a mentor, find a role model. That's what we're trying to teach. There is no excuse for failure. You cannot blame the educational system. It's not perfect in America, I'm telling you. I've seen stuff in America, proper university, people graduated first degree, they cannot read and write. I've seen it. So the educational system is not perfect anywhere. I'm not saying we should not improve. We're improving, we keep improving. Take responsibility for your life. Go to school, learn, whatever is missing in the curriculum, go and learn it for yourself. That's my advice.
My name is Palmatamala, and my question is like, it has been something that used to disaggregate most people, that like, can individual be naturally born to be a leader, or in order for you to be a leader, you need to be nurtured before being a leader? Thank you.
Quite an interesting question. What did you say? I'm interested in what you said.
A leader is me.
Is any of you familiar with this nature-nurture dichotomy? That things happen by nature or things are nurtured?
Yeah.
So, I am more inclined to believe that leaders are born. I'm more inclined to believe that. But knowing the capacity of the human mind, and that's actually the whole purpose of this philosophy, these seminars, there's no limit to what a human being can do. The brain and the mind that Allah has given us. I believe you can also train yourself to become a leader. But I'm more inclined to believe, because personally, like I said, growing up, primary school, college, up to university, I never had any dream of being a leader, but I've been thrust into leadership positions. I was president of student union. When I went to Central Bank, I was president of the staff organization. I didn't ask for it. So my advice is whether you are born to be a leader or not, you know yourself better. There are people who by nature, I'm not talking about being a minister or president, they don't even want to stand in front of a crowd. And it's not that they are less smart than me. Some of these people are smarter than me, more compassionate than me, more faith than me, but they are not interested. That's not their path. God has created us differently. But for me, if you think you want to be a leader, or you believe that you might at some point be interested or pushed into a position of leadership, prepare yourself. Learn, read, follow. You want to be a leader? For me, follow. That's the verse in the Quran, Surah Sajda, that I find very interesting. It has something to do with leadership. And Allah is talking about Prophet Moses, one of the greatest leaders of all time. And he said, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا. Allah said he took some of them and made them leaders after they had become patient for a long time. The key word there is patience. If you are not a patient person, please don't try it. You can be a
And then the last one there.
Good evening, everyone. My name is.
Can we give our witness?
So this would be fast. To be specific, if there was any time in your life that you could consider as a setback, what would it be?
You mean setbacks?
Yeah.
With S?
No.
It's actually setbacks.
So let's make it specific to say throughout from January to this month.
That's too short.
Okay, now here.
I think I have a good idea of what your question is. I think if you're still with me, I've had so many setbacks in my life. And I believe that if anybody is going to be great at anything, you will have those things. You will have disappointments, you will have betrayals, you will have all sorts of things in your life. I told you I was given a job that I didn't ask for. Secretary General Minister of Presidential Affairs, I was fired, that's a setback. To be fired is just bad enough, and I was taken to jail, that's a setback. But it did not break me, it actually strengthened me to even work harder and rebound and even became bigger. So after the change of government, I told you what the new government did. They banned me. They said I should not work in this country for the rest of. Some people thought that was the end of my life. Yeah, some people were actually happy because they thought I was rising too fast. So there is this proverb, I think it's an African proverb. They buried us, but they did not know that we were seeds.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening, Mr. My question is, as great leaders and writers like you, what are some of the steps that you are taking to build up the culture of reading in this country? Because I believe attending so many leadership programs, and people have been emphasizing on how people should keep reading and reading and reading. So what are the steps that great leaders are on?
Tell them the step I took at your school, then I'll answer the rest.
Okay. If I could remember well, 5 years back, you came to my school and it was in the form of seminar like this, and then you sensitized us about writing
and I gave you books.
Books, yeah.
To do what?
To read them.
So if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see me holding a book reading. That's partly sensitization. I have a Bible or the Quran or some other book. It's partly sensitization. I have no business taking certain pictures to put it out there, but I'm trying to send it to you because I know I'm followed by hundreds of thousands of people. Even those who hate me, they follow me. She knows it. Sometimes I ask you, why are you following me? If you really come so bad. But like I told you, I believe in reading. I've been writing essays about reading. I've been going to schools like our school. My son's school, I think when he was at daycare, I used to go to his school to teach them, give my books to them. I've done lectures on reading. And I can tell you, man, I'm on it every day. Even today I ask you to read. But she's an author, by the way. Clap for her, young author. So sometimes what I do, because look, I'm not a Superman, man. I have a wife, I have children, man. I'm busy. I need to put money on the table, right? To pay school fees. So I can't live my whole life on voluntary service. So sometimes what I do, I approach it in a smart way. Sometimes I don't have to organize my own, but if she organizes a program, I feel, okay, let me go and support her so that she can also enjoy. So I've done that quite to Carton. Where is the professor of the poet? Where is he? Yeah, I went to his school 5 years ago. A village in the middle of nowhere. Sorry, I hope you don't feel bad. It's a very important village. That's where Hamadwa comes from, your lands minister. But they invited me for a primary school graduation at my own cost. I drove up to there, spoke to them, gave them books. Now he's one of the finest young intellectuals at that level. It's an Muslim. You should clap him. He's a poet.
And I do. Sabally, I do Banjulin Senior Secondary School. You came there our graduation.
Over all this.
I'm not saying
No, Kanasong, seems like just a slogan. But for people like us, it is an ideology. I want you to set some light on that, and then I think that's
Okay, maybe I'll use this opportunity to give my own vote of thanks for listening to me and talk and talk and talk. You know, I really love to see people listen to me. Yeah, because what I'm saying, I actually believe in it. I believe in everything that I tell you. There's one thing I want to say, but if I don't believe in something, I will not say it. But I believe these things we are talking about, they are necessary, they are needed. And I am here today, I don't know where I will be tomorrow. I'm not talking about death, I want to live very long. And by the way, our son in Sabally means never die, so we hope to live very long. I could leave this country every time and go live and hope elsewhere. But the ideas we are all talking about here, I think we should continue sharing these ideas. You don't know whose life you are going to touch. You don't know who you're going to inspire. Who could be the next 100 times Momodou Sabally, 100 times Barack Obama, 100 times bigger than any imam or pastor. You never know. So these conversations will continue. So the kind of something. You know, I've spoken about this so much that I didn't tired of talking about it. You see, I've read some really deep philosophies about what makes human beings successful and what makes human beings to fulfill their potential. And among these is the philosophy of self-reliance as extolled by the legendary Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of the greatest philosophers ever in the history of the United States of America, and one of the guys that actually inspired Barack Obama. We live in a society where people try to cage you. What I mean is not a political statement. People want you to behave like everybody else. He's a poet, you want to be a nurse. No, it's not good to be a nurse, you should be a poet. So you need to be strong, especially if you have a bond. Follow your own path. You know, Henry David Thoreau, another American philosopher, he said, if the whole crowd is dancing, a particular dance, maybe that's the drum we are hearing. If you are hearing a chorus, dance the chorus dance. Don't dance the bugarabu when the music being played is pachanga. You lose yourself in the crowd. So you need to be yourself, and that's the first principle in that book, Instant Success. To be yourself in the world that is trying to make you like everybody else, is to fight and to always keep fighting. Society wants you to conform. Again, I don't mean you should be a rascal and break all the rules, rule of God, rule of the nation, I follow that. Beyond that, I want to be me. So long as I am not trespassing on you, I want to live my own life. Society wants you to be a doctor alone. You cannot be a doctor and a poet and a politician. I say no, I'll be a mathematician, I'll be a poet, I'll be a politician, I'll be an economist, I'll be an imam. And I am all of that. Because man song, kana song, this song, economist, and they tried to do it. When I was at the central bank, when I wrote essays in the newspaper, you should not do this. Because it's a conservative institution. But I insisted on writing in the papers until I published my own book. And books. When the society came 27, they said, enough people, Sabally, you are minister of Rajam, that's it, you are over, you'll never be anything in this country. That's actually the time that the Kana songs came. Because there was a propaganda online, make it look like I'm the most hated evil Gambian alive. They were saying this, it was online. SG, you remember, one of my few lawyer supporters is here. He was very consistent in believing in me, even at that time. But then when they say that on social media, and I go out on a walk on Westfield, people are hugging me, shaking hands with me. So it came and said, you know, psychologically they're trying to manipulate you. I said, refuse the labels. Refuse the labels. Kana song. That's how it came about. But the Kana song is also, when people expect you to fail, Kana song can fail, succeed. It's not a cheap, cheesy, reckless philosophy. No, it's stoicism. You know what that word means? Go and recite that.
Sam Manja, and final year university student. Major in economics and minor.
This is a university student.
Okay. First, Honorable Sabally, I will say thank you for being here with us. And there is just this one thing I want to say. That's why I'm so adamant about asking my question. There is something you have saved in me That's like, you are the only person I learned from, being honest. That was back in 2018 in Starfish. Do you remember when you came to Starfish? And it was raining, it was in August 2018. You entered the rain and come and meet us in Starfish. You had a panel discussion with us. I was in the team. Yeah. And we were like, Mami Yasin, I hope Sabally will come. And then Mami Yasin said, I know Sabally, he will come. Momodou Sabally entered inside the rain. He entered in the rain and make it up to us. Since that day, I promised myself, nothing like rain will ever stop me happened to me. And the second thing is, like, I had people asking you questions, but there is this one question I asked you that day. I asked you, who is your best friend in your life? And then your answer was, your best friend is your wife, and your wife is the smartest person on earth. And the reason why I asked that question is, when you are the big leader, you said people have to follow you. You need good followers. And there is something I think it is missing here. Leaders also create followers. That day you taught me that. By having a partner. How do you fight for your partner? So that year too, I promised myself when I'm graduating at the university, I will graduate with a team. This year I'm finishing my university studies. And then since 2019 up to date, I'm building a team, working on a project. Now we are 50 in number. Every year I had that dream because of you. And my question to you is, maybe many people don't know, still I'm having some challenges because some people are there, I add them to my team, we don't work along. So if we need to get good followers, as a leader, how do you try to create followers that can actually follow you? That's my question.
Well, thank you, and thanks for the compliment. Yes, I do remember that day when I came to Starfish. And because it all boils down to the philosophy I'm trying to teach you. I mean, you can't. I'm not a theory. I'm not theory. I'm not theory, by the way. What? I'm not theory. So you guys are very superstitious. Wow. Theory book. Number theory. A book will ask you to take bath, but the book never takes bath. So you can't be that kind of leader. Tell people to do this. That's one of the things that really frustrates me in this country, and that gives me a bad reputation during my time in public service. People think they can give excuses. People will take every little opportunity to give excuses for not doing their job. I don't accept it. Like, you're supposed to come to work. I mean, I'm not saying your mother died, your blood brother, blood sister. I mean, I don't expect you to come to work. But a neighbor passed away, your friend's grandfather passed away. You want to spend the whole day out of work? I'm not going to accept it. If you don't come, I will punish you. Go and write on what's on that. I don't care. Because I'm a leader, I take responsibility. So Gambians, I mean, some of us, if there is a task to be done, you know what they think about first? 10 reasons of why it cannot be done. Instead of thinking of 10 reasons why it can be, like if I say, I'm on traffic lights, I want to meet you, you are challenging. You need me, I leave my thing and come and sit down and wait for you. This is how Momodou. We in the Quran say that you must get a car to come from Talinding to traffic lights. It's walkable distance. So it just well, I was invited to Starfish, and Starfish is run by my good friend and sister Mami Yasin Saab. We went to school together. It's one of the smartest Gambians too. And when it comes to reading, she's my boss. I mean, from Lamin Village, Combo North, she went to America, has a PhD, and is transforming lives. And I boiled it down to what is reading and writing. Reading, and so Mami Yasin was mentoring young people. She invited me. It was raining for me. It's not an excuse. I actually walked in water. He's right. But I had to go and fulfill that appointment. But look at what's happened. At least that gave me the interaction to connect with him, and he's impacting lives. So this thing for me, there are no excuses. You made a good point about leaders creating. That is important also. You have to create followers also. And you have to make the followers comfortable. And like I said, leadership is not easy. Some of the people you are building will be the people who will be plotting to destroy you. But you have to be patient. That's why I say, if you are not patient, forget it. There's a verse in Surah Ali Imran. where Allah practically is telling Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that it's a favor of Allah that you are gentle and patient with your followers. If you are too harsh, they will all disperse around you. So one of your responsibilities is to be patient. You can correct them without being too hard. The Prophet had munafiqs, hypocrites. He knew them. He still kept them within the fold. So, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It's the favor of Allah that you be patient with them. Sometimes you have to deal with crap as a leader. But, yes, he is right. You have to create followers too. I'm sure you're not satisfied with all of them. Sometimes also people need time to grow. Yes. My attitude this year, most likely, would be different from my attitude. But for me, my entire life is about improvements. I'm learning from young and old. I know my flaws. And if you want to be a leader, you must be able to analyze yourself also. Try to build up on your weak points. Thanks for the question. Before the question, I wanted to read a quote, just when SLA was performing, about the importance of music. And that's why we invested a lot of time and energy and money in building the choir. And Jay actually takes credit for it. She's the choir manager. She has more patience than me. Maybe if it were me, I would have disbanded the choir a long time ago. Because if you come to for practice late, you that I just pick it away. But she's more patient than me. So that's why also if you are in a team, you know the strengths and weaknesses of different characters. Each character has a role to play. But I thought it was very important that these traditional gems, look, Ifan Bondi was one of the greatest bands in the whole of Africa, not just Gambia. Usually people came here to learn from this Ifan Bondi Garawa band. That's a boy. He learned from them. And this Ifan Bondi, all these great bands, usually do is not doing original music. Most of them are folk music. They say what they're doing is folk music. Some of these great songs go back into our traditions, again the roots that we are supposed to pull off to create these foods. So we thought within the folklore, all the songs they sang here, did they sing any Baba Black Sheep here? There always a black sheep. Who has ever seen a black sheep? but what I thought about music, especially this era of Bali gangster, you hang your me. I mean, what goes into your mind affects you, and music is very powerful. It gets to your soul. So whilst I was doing that research to make a case for me, for myself, to be a little bit more active in the building of the choir, I picked this up from Sheikh Anta Diop. You know Sheikh Anta Diop, right? Yeah. The greatest African musician ever. But actually, I was listening to an interview by Abdel Kabir, the late, you know him, Lion Gong, and he quoted Sheikh Anta Diop. And this is the quote, I thought it was very interesting, and I should share with you. He said, as soon as Africans start to do the right music, it will uplift the understanding and the cultural gap that has been caused by slavery and colonialism in our relationship. What is that you were talking about? We've got to have the right music to be able to uplift our understanding and a cultural gap. The Tubats came and they messed up our society, the social fabric. But we can unearth that and take that back. We have to listen to the right music. Buju Bantam, one of my favorites that I dance all the by the way, when I was young, like university student now. Buju Bantam was attacking African language in January. What the nonsense that they do about us. Afrobeat. Afrobeat. He said they don't have any message to uplift the consciousness of Africans. Music's got to be rich. It's got to be deeply rooted. That's why we still listen to Bob Marley. Because he uplifted and revolutionized the whole thinking mindset. Emancipate yourself from it.
It's answered. Okay, thank you. Yeah, we have
mine will be a question.
The elders are sleeping. So
Okay, yeah. Just a question. Thank you so much for your presentation. I was inspired by your speech. I can say because as you emphasize about reading. Safi's book launching, I remember when I was there, Professor Sabally about being over 3 times. And then one of my ustads also used to say, leaders are leaders from zero to hero. That's still in mind, that reading is very important. And then I will just make an appeal, some of your books, if you can still share with
I don't even know where they are now.
Just about
I said right, actually. Very sad.
Do you have a moderator for this event?
That's just what I want to say.
You've heard him. Okay, you take care.
It's a contribution.
Yeah.
So we have it. Good evening. Yeah,
I guess we had a focused discussion with you. So I'm a little bit skeptical about this concept. So, however, the concept is, what are the ways that can promote effective leadership?
To promote effective leadership and inculcate the habit of effective leadership. Effective leading, because leaders are leaders.
Can answer.
Okay, you. Wait. Okay, can we, yeah,
I just want to make a contribution. When you talk about this one, Martin Luther King,
MLK.
that he has a dream. Yes, and then you also mentioned about the music and the choir. And then that resonated in my mind on what Tupac said.
Tupac, listen.
Yes.
He's a very great man. Tupac Shakur.
And he seems having said, we went back to see a black president. And in 2008, they have a black president. That is Obama. I think that's like kind of a philosophically, thinking. So coming to my message is that, you said that Martin Luther King had a dream. I also had a dream. When I was in my high school, I did my work. It was very poor.
Did you hear that?
I had 2 credits.
Clap for him. He's honest enough to tell
I had 2 credits. In my first attempt, I was very young, naive. I said to myself, well, Martin Luther King has a dream. I also have a dream, and that my dream is to go to University of the Gambia. So I said to myself that I have to read, and then I will do it by myself without the help of my teachers. And then I started reading, going back to my books, and I read again, and made a lot of researches. I went for a private exam, private ones, and then I have some, I made an excellent results that I need to without the help of my tutors or my lecturers or my teachers. I did it alone. So I also have a dream. Thank you.
So, I want to react to that because that's the kind of song spirit. More often than not, and these things can be difficult. He's saying it here and he thinks it's easy, but to fail an exam is a heartbreak. And if you are not careful, people can even make you believe that you are stupid when you are not. Let's say, for instance, you grade 11, 12. During the Jama era, for instance, every other day, your father is fired. He can no longer teach money properly. He cannot give you money properly. How do you concentrate and be able to go to school regularly and then to write books and study properly? Some young people become victims of domestic problems between father and mother. It can be traumatizing. Some people lose parents while going to school. Some people lose loved ones. And all of these things can affect your studies. So I'm not making a case and justifying why people fail exams. But these things can happen. But what is important is to expose that spirit that is referring to that, okay, I did not succeed this time, but that does not make me a failure. I will go and try again and again and again. And it's not just about exams. You will get a job, you will get fired. Don't give up. Try to go get another job. You'll attempt to write a book and it will flop. Don't give up. Try write another book. Most of the greatest authors had flops, 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe the 10th time. Obama lost an election. That doesn't come into his history. He once lost an election and he was congressional. But then he later became a senator and president. So you have this setback. The spirit is kind of song. Take a failure. Keep trying.
So, okay, last.
Yeah, good evening to you. I am Ibrahim Ajay, a 30-year law student.
That means you are very good. Law student, 3rd year.
Well, anyways, this is just a quick question, but it has really Well, as he mentioned, like it is easier to change a child than an adult. But it is really very hectic to change what is in the mind of a child than an adult. So this has been a myth because I was told that like politicians are different from leaders. And if you think like politicians are the same as leaders, or politicians are different from leaders, because sometimes we do interchange, we do use both terms like interchangeably. Like sometimes we see a leader and call them politicians, or we see politicians and call them leaders. So, and for me personally, I don't believe in politicians because since I was young, they have been telling me that like, leaders, politicians are politicians and leaders are leaders. And some label me as a politician, but I think I'm not a politician but a leader. So if you can tell me like whether a good leader, a good politician rather, can make, like a politician can make a good leader.
6101.
I thought you wanted to respond to that.
No. That's your question. And then after you will have an extra on this. Lots of facilities.
Okay, to be honest, generally, when we talk about leadership, if anybody is not fooling him or herself, we think of people occupying political office, right or wrong. So leaders are politicians. Understand? I did mention cases here and there. You should do. I think it's a leader. It's a cultural leader, cultural icon. I think Imam Fati is a leader. He's a religious leader. But even Imam Fati, sometimes he does politics. I've seen that. So it's difficult to avoid this thing. I think man is a political animal, not a politician.
So yeah, I mean, can't cage me the slogan. Concerning what I think do OC, we shall have no mandate to dictate who I sit with to chat or discuss or play. That too is too sacred for you to meditate. We'll send you the slogan for you to read. It's philosophical, it has prerequisites and fundamentals.
Explaining the slogan.
Yeah, so
the elders are sleepy.
The elders are sleepy, and then that brings us to the end of the activities today. And then, I mean, we can go freshen up. Later we will call you out for dinner, and then we have the rest of it.
No.